Hey there, and welcome back to the channel. In today's video, we have a 2-round NFL mock draft. But before I jump into that, I want to share with you a really good product I just came across. It is the Lawnmower 4.0 by Manscaped. This is the latest and greatest rendition of the product. If you're looking to really treat yourself, I highly recommend the 4.0. It does a great job avoiding nicks, keeps everything clean. It's got a flashlight on it as well to really help you see all crevices and areas that you want to hit. Honestly, I think this is the best product they've made. They also have a lot of other wide variety of stuff that you can get, such as deodorants, nose hairs, trimmers. There's so many different things that they have to offer. I think it's worth checking out. If you do want 20% off and free shipping, hit the link below to go to their website and use code utility20 to get that 20% plus the free ship. So very important. Use our code utility20. Now we are going to jump into the video. Now this is what we're here for. I'm very excited about this mock draft. Looking at it here, you have Jacksonville at number 1. To me, you have to go with a guy like Evan Neal. Evan Neal is that franchise tackle that they've been craving, they've been looking for. Trevor Lawrence gets his blindside protector in this mock. Followed up by number 2, we have the Detroit Lions, and they're going to stay local. They're going to take the Michigan kid, Aiden Hutchinson. He's going to be transformational along that front 7. Something they've desperately needed is an elite pass rusher. He can bring that to the table, has a variety of pass rush moves, and will definitely help out this team long term. At number 3, we have the Houston Texans, and the Texans are in a really good position because they need a lot of different things along this team, offensively, defensively. There's so many different areas that you can go. I'm going with one of the highest upside guys in the entire class. That's Kayvon Thibodeaux. Kayvon Thibodeaux is so good against the run, and he's also a developmental pass rusher. You know, he had the production to match it, but I think his ceiling is insanely high because of how great of an athlete he is, and you know what he's been able to show so far at the collegiate level. I like him being here at 3 for this Texans roster that is actually one of the oldest rosters in the entire NFL. So it's great for them getting a guy like Kayvon Thibodeaux. At number 4, we have the New York Jets, and the New York Jets are in a really good spot here because they have some versatility on what they can do with their selection. They can definitely look on the offensive side of the ball. Defensively, they could look there as well. I know Derek Stingley has been a more popular selection, but I think Kyle Hamilton is just a phenomenal football player. He's 6'4", he's rangy, can play up in the box, great open field tackler. Great instincts as well. That's really important as a safety to have those true instincts. And he's also great with the ball skills. So selecting Kyle Hamilton here is going to be the move. I definitely think, you know, Marcus May, there's a lot of questions about his future in New York. I think getting a guy like Kyle Hamilton on that back end is going to be terrific for this roster. Robert Saleh is trying to build this defense in his image, and they got a little ways to go yet in terms of where they need to get to. However, Kyle Hamilton, really good pick for them. At number 5, we have the New York Giants. And the New York Giants definitely have to be considering the trenches, in my opinion. I think that's where they'll definitely look. Ikem Ekwonu is going to be my pick for them. Reason being, Daniel Jones, you want to give him the best chance to win. At this point, they're trying to figure out if he can be that long-term starting option. So give him all the tools. Selecting a guy like Ekwonu is definitely going to go a long ways in helping out this roster. So for me, Ikem Ekwonu is the pick. At number 6, we have the Carolina Panthers, a team desperately looking for a quarterback. The Sam Darnold thing did not work out. They're, you know, really going to be back to the drawing board. So I actually have them going with the quarterback in this class. And this is a guy that has insanely high upside. That's Malik Willis. He's the best runner in the class. He breaks a ton of tackles, even comparable to running backs. I think he's even top 5 in that stat of all players. So there's so much dynamism as him as a runner. However, he can be a developmental passer. Some of the great quarterbacks in the NFL were actually not accurate in college, ended up, you know, really having to adjust to the NFL. They had the multiple traits, getting them in those quarterback rooms with some of those experienced guys really goes a long way. Malik Willis is the selection here. Once again, we have the New York Giants with that next pick. New York Giants have a good opportunity, once again, to fix some of that trench play. I had them going with George Karlaftis. George Karlaftis is a guy that is phenomenal against the run, very technically sound in that department, does a good job controlling the line of scrimmage, And the New York Giants, once again, in both trenches, get some big time help. I think they are well on their way in this rebuild. At number 8, we have the Atlanta Falcons, and the Atlanta Falcons definitely could be considering wide receiver at this position. However, I think that with a player as talented as Derek Stingley is still on the board, you have to consider him here with this pick because of how great of an athlete he is and what the long-term projectable future is for him. I know he's had a couple, some ups and downs in the last 2 years with injuries and some inconsistencies in his play. However, I think he offers high-end quarterback one potential, and that's why we are going with him here at number 8. At number 9, we have the Denver Broncos, and the Denver Broncos definitely could be in a position where they're looking at an offensive tackle. They could be looking at a quarterback, edge rusher. So I think along those lines, those are all in play. I would not count any of that out at this spot. Edge rusher could make some sense, but I'm kind of looking at it through the lens of there's some really talented linebackers out here as well. Let's take a look for sure what we do have at the edge spot, because that might be where we want to go. It's hard to pass on a guy like David Ajabo, who was a little overshadowed by Aiden Hutchinson, but I think he's talented enough to become in that top 10 pick range because of what he has in his bag as a pass rusher. So we have him here at number 9. At number 10, we have the New York Jets. And the New York Jets, once again, should be looking at addressing another key need here, and that's offense. I'm actually going to go with Drake London. You can get a true red zone threat in your wide receiver room. They already have a nice formation started with guys like Elijah Moore and Corey Davis. However, a true red zone guy in Drake London, 6'5" frame, high volume target guy at USC, steps right into this Jets offense and makes a big impact immediately. Now at number 11, we have the Commanders, and the Commanders are in a position where they probably will take a quarterback in this draft, whether it's in the first or second round. I don't exactly know, but I definitely think they're considering a guy like Sam Howell. Reason being, he had a big Senior Bowl week, was impressive to a lot of coaches and scouts. I think he's really propelled himself into that top 10 discussion or around the top 10 discussion. He is going here at number 11. Washington gets their hopeful franchise quarterback. Taylor Heineke can be a stopgap guy, but Sam Howell is the pick. And at number 12, we have the Minnesota Vikings, and the Minnesota Vikings have a desperate need at that corner spot. I love this pairing with Ahmad Gardner and this Vikings roster. Ahmad Gardner hasn't allowed a touchdown in his whole collegiate career. He's 6'3", 200 pounds, has the projectable frame that you want in a corner. And long-term, I think the Vikings would be much better off going with the corner instead of some of the other spots that, they might be needing. They're just a little thin there right now. Brashad Breeland didn't work out. Patrick Peterson, obviously, we don't know his future considering his contract situation. So he is a immediate plug-and-play guy for this team. At number 13, we have the Cleveland Browns, and the Cleveland Browns are looking for a wide receiver, in my opinion. There's a couple of really good wideouts that could potentially fit this offense tremendously. I see a guy like Garrett Wilson being that true guy. I'm actually having him go here. He's so good after the catch. He's a terrific route runner, also a great release. One of the best releases in the entire class. It's fun to watch him, and I think keeping him in Ohio would be very, very wise for the Browns if they're looking to take that offense hopefully to the next level. At number 14, we have the Baltimore Ravens, and the Baltimore Ravens likely will be looking along that defensive line. They haven't, they would like to make some improvements from last year. Obviously, they had quite a bit of injuries, but Trayvon Walker, who's a really phenomenal athlete, could fit in nicely into this scheme. I see Baltimore taking a chance on a guy like him. The production doesn't necessarily match what we think he can be in the NFL. So I think Baltimore will be taking a stab at him. Trayvon Walker, immediate plug-and-play guy, going to be a high-impact defender for this defense. At number 15, we have the Philadelphia Eagles. And the Philadelphia Eagles, I definitely think they're looking in that secondary. I think that's on their mind. They got back-to-back picks here, so no panic for them here. But I think Trenton McDuffie can be an immediate guy that you want to plug into Philadelphia. He was tremendous in his college career, specifically this past season. Gave up very, very few yards. He doesn't have the exact size that you're looking for an outside corner. However, he was effective at that corner spot, even having that 5'10", 5'11" frame, whatever he is. So Philadelphia going there at 15 could make a lot of sense. But then you want to follow that up with another tremendous player. This has been a popular pick of mine, Devin Lloyd. I think the Philadelphia Eagles are lacking a truly instinctual linebacker at that second level. Devin Lloyd brings that. He can feel the field, definitely has a good feel for what's around him. I love that for this Eagles defense. At number 17, we have the LA Chargers, and the Chargers have to look up the middle, in my opinion, considering where they're at. Jerry Tillery has not worked out exactly how they thought he would. So putting him here would be kind of dangerous. I think Devontae Wyatt is honestly the best scheme fit here. Could be more of that prototypical 3-down defensive lineman. And for the Chargers, they got to get better there. I'm operating under the idea that Mike Williams is back. Otherwise, I would have selected a wide receiver with this pick. So that's why it opened up the door for me having Devontae Wyatt go to the Chargers. At 18, we have the New Orleans Saints. New Orleans Saints have to consider all their cap situation. Teron Armstead very likely will not be back, considering how much money is going to A, commend, and then B, therefore the lack of money that New Orleans has. So Charles Cross, really good value selection here. Love that for them. They're able to cut some costs, not have to resign a guy like Armstead. And honestly, that's going to go a long ways because he's a terrific pass blocker, will fit in very nicely with this Saints team. At 19, we have the Philadelphia Eagles once again. And to me, the Eagles get a gem at this spot. Tyler Linderbaum is going to be my pick. You plug him in, potentially long-term, he's going to be a center for this team. However, if Kelsey sticks around, then he's going to play guard at a very, very high level. And then once Kelsey retires, he'll slide over as the full-time center. Terrific player, smart guy, knows how to get to that second level as an offensive lineman. This is a phenomenal pick for the Eagles. At number 20, you have the Pittsburgh Steelers. Two things on my radar are quarterback and tackle, right? That's to me what you have to be looking for at this juncture. And to me, I'm definitely going to be going with a tackle at this point. I think that overall their offensive line has had a lot of struggles. So I'm going to go ahead and pick. I'm looking at Bernard Ryman. He could be a really good option here. But I'm actually going to select Trevor Penning. Trevor Penning showed a lot during that Senior Bowl week that would warrant that. So I could see that being a very, very possible situation for them where they go off of a little bit of momentum. He was absolutely nasty in those Senior Bowl practices and the game. Fierce competitor, definitely embodies what Pittsburgh's all about. Number 21, we have the New England Patriots. New England Patriots are in a position where they're looking to add a red zone threat. I think to me, that's Treylon Burks. It makes a lot of sense. You're looking for that 6'3" frame, a guy that's really good after the catch and could be a true red zone guy. He's the total package as a wide receiver. I think New England would be very, very wise to select a wideout in this class, help out Mac Jones develop, get him a true red zone target at the wide receiver spot. Number 22, we have the Raiders. And the Raiders, to me, have to be looking at that wide receiver room. You want to replace Henry Ruggs' speed. They can do that easily by selecting Jameson Williams. Ends up falling a little bit because of that injury. However, they're getting an absolute steal here at 22, considering his production, his ability to really make big plays happen. That's really what the Raiders were missing down the stretch of the year. And that's what they can get in Jameson Williams. 23, we have the Arizona Cardinals. I do want to replace Robert Alford at this point. There's a couple of quality corners still on the board. We might see a little bit of a run here. I like Kaiir Elam, 6'2" frame, a guy that can tackle, and that's exactly what the Arizona Cardinals need. He can be physical at the line of scrimmage. And for Arizona, playing in a very tough and competitive division, Kaiir Elam is going to go a long ways. And I think, honestly, it's super crucial that they address it early in this year's draft. 24, we have the Dallas Cowboys. Dallas Cowboys are definitely going to be considering that defensive line. At this point, there's a couple of avenues they could go here, but I think Jermaine Johnson or Kingsley Enagbare could be a good selection. I'm going to go Kingsley Enagbare here for the Dallas Cowboys. They're going to be looking for another pass rusher, a guy that can get after the QB. Micah Parsons was a home run pick last year. I think they're going to stick defense in this draft and go with Kingsley Enagbare. At 25, we have the Buffalo Bills desperately seeking a true number 2 wide receiver. Cole Beasley is a very, very good number 3, but I think they're going to be looking at that wide receiver 2 spot. To me, I see Chris Olave being a perfect fit into this offense. just considering what they have right now on roster. Stephon Diggs, Chris Olave, and Dawson Knox. That would be a tremendous trio of weapons for Josh Allen. Really, really good if they're able to do that. Chris Olave makes a lot of big plays happen, and you add him to this already explosive offense. Watch out. It could be dangerous. 26, we have the Tennessee Titans. Tennessee Titans definitely need to look at that edge spot, in my opinion, with the potential absence of Harold Landry entering free agency. They're going to be looking that direction once again. Jermaine Johnson's going to be the pick, former JUCO product. He's going to slot in nicely to Tennessee, embodies exactly what Mike Vrabel's all about. He's a tough edge and definitely shows up on tape a lot at Florida State. Flashes for sure. I believe he had 14 sacks this past season. Tremendous player out of Florida State. 27, we have the Tampa Bay Bucks. Tampa Bay is going to have to cut costs somewhere. I think that starts at Donovan Smith's contract. They're probably going to look to potentially release him. Bernard Ryman could be a terrific plug-and-play player for this Tampa Bay offense. There's a lot of questions heading into the offseason, especially with the absence of Tom Brady. What are they going to do at the QB spot? I guess we'll find out, but I think this pick is more centered around the idea maybe they made a move for a veteran. At 28, we have Green Bay, and to me, you have to look at this offensive line as an area of concern a little bit more than the other spots on this team. Kenyon Green, big guy, can move out in space, will be terrific for Aaron Jones in the run game. He's such a fun prospect to watch, especially for being a guard. He's definitely someone you keep your eye on during those college game days. At 29, we have the Miami Dolphins. Miami Dolphins will potentially be looking for offensive line, especially in this first round, considering that they're trying to make some strides for sure. To me, I could see a guy like Nicholas Petitfrere going, tremendous pass blocker. I like that for them, just considering where they're at right now. I have a hard time believing that they won't take one within the first 2 rounds. I love what the Dolphins could do with their picks. At pick 30, we have the Kansas City Chiefs. This one's a pretty clear one to me. Nakobe Dean is going to be the selection. He's a heat-seeking missile, a guy that's all over the field, super athletic, good instincts, really fills up the gaps well in the run game. I love Nakobe Dean. I think this is an absolute steal for the Chiefs at 30. At 31, we have the Cincinnati Bengals, and they will be looking offensive line all the way, in my opinion. Why do I say that? Just because Joe Burrow was absolutely tortured during the postseason, unfortunately. A guy I could see fitting in nicely. Definitely Kellen Dyche could be an option. I think another interesting option, if we look on the interior of that offensive line, Zion Johnson is going to be my pick here. I think he slots in nicely at that guard spot. Going to be very, very consistent, hopefully, in pass protection, something they desperately need. Now we have the Detroit Lions, and the Detroit Lions have a good opportunity once again to consider that quarterback spot. Linebacker is another potential need. I'm actually going to go with the quarterback spot because you will get that 5th-year option, and that's very important in playing into this selection. So looking at who is available, long-term, I could see a guy like Matt Corral fitting in nicely here. When you look at what the Detroit Lions need, they're going to need some guy that could fill in for Jared Goff at some point. I don't think Jared Goff is that long-term solution. Matt Corral made some huge strides this past season. He was much better than the prior year. A lot of things that he was able to fix and correct under Lane Kiffin. Pick 33, we have Jacksonville, and Jacksonville's in a position where, you have to consider all things, but Lewis Cine going to be my pick. Tremendous playmaker on that back end for that Georgia Bulldog defense. You're replacing Andrew Wingard and get rid of ultimately the weakest, person on your team. But now you have to consider, where does this put Rayshon Jenkins? He had signed that 4-year deal worth over $10 million a year. So hopefully, they might actually have to cut him, just considering he definitely had his fair share of struggles last year. I like Rayshon, but I think the future is more in Cine and Cisco. Both of those guys could be really, really good fits here. At pick 34, we have the Detroit Lions. And the Detroit Lions, once again, I think we'll be actually looking at that wide receiver spot. I know they had Amon-Ra St. Brown breakout last year, but I think you pair him with Jahan Dotson, a tremendous talent out of Penn State, guy that has a really good feel for the sidelines, an immediate impact player to me with this Detroit Lions offense. For sure need another guy into the fold. I love this pick for the Detroit Lions. Pick 35, we have the Houston Texans, and the Houston Texans have to be kind of looking holistically best player available, in my opinion. Andrew Booth Jr. is that. A bigger frame corner, a guy that is going to be very competitive on that back end for Houston. So, you see right away, Houston ends up going two defensive players. If we go back to their first round pick, we had selected Kayvon Thibodeau, but now you come back with Andrew Booth Jr. This defense is well on its way to making a recovery. Pick 36, we have the New York Jets, and the New York Jets definitely could be looking at that linebacker spot. I think that is an area of concern. Leo Chenal could be a pick, but I'm actually going to go with another guy that could make some sense. We're going to specifically look at that linebacker spot. I do want to key in on that. I think it's important that they address this. I think Chad Muma is one of those guys that's not being talked enough about in the draft process. We saw how impactful Logan Wilson is, and I'm seeing that same kind of trajectory here for Chad Muma. So we are going to go there with that 36th pick. Pick 37, we have the New York Giants, and the New York Giants here have an interesting opportunity to look linebacker as well. I actually think I'm going to go with Brian Asamoah from Oklahoma. Fits in nicely into that linebacker room. New York Giants are just getting so much better with this draft, considering the draft capital they have. Once again, Brian Dable's got a lot to work with, can be kind of flexible with his picks. So Asamoah is the selection there. 38, once again, you have the New York Jets. I think they definitely are going to be considering corner at this point, because earlier we had selected Kyle Hamilton and then Drake London and then Chad Muma. So now we're going to actually go back to the cornerback spot. I think it's pretty crucial that they go ahead and select one here. Looking at what is available, I like Kyler Gordon. I think Kyler Gordon, he's a terrific athlete, could be a high impact guy for Robert Saleh, good man-to-man player as well. Chicago Bears. Now, the Chicago Bears, I think, will be looking along that offensive line. I'm going with a guy that has insane upside. Daniel Faalele out of Minnesota, 6'8", 380 pounds, a true developmental offensive lineman. Really, really good pick for them here. I think if the Bears want to take that jump, they got to address that line. Definitely could look at wideout too, but offensive line is crucial. Now we have the Atlanta Falcons. I honestly, you can look at the edge spot. I think that could be honestly the best case scenario here. DeMarvin Leal still around. His versatility is great. Boya Mafe could be another pick. I'm actually going to go there. They've been looking for a true edge rusher for quite some time. Vic Beasley was the last guy that was a true high impact, high production guy for them. However, I think Mafe steps in right away, an immediate pass rusher, has 10 plus sack upside. I think that's what he can bring. It's a bold prediction, but seeing what he was able to do at Minnesota, and then once again at the Senior Bowl, he dominated one-on-ones and actually in the actual game. So love that for the Falcons. The Denver Broncos, this might be a time where they could look at that linebacker spot as well. A couple of linebackers that fit in nicely for them could be guys like Christian Harris, Leo Chenal. I'm actually going to take Chenal here. I do have to actually take that off there. There is Chenal. I think for the Denver Broncos, they're going to continue to improve this defense. Patrick Surtain was huge last year, and now you bring in a guy like Chenal, another immediate impact player, and we'll be ready to win in that tough AFC West heading into next year. Pick 42, we have the Seattle Seahawks. You have to consider offensive line as a humongous need. More specifically, let's look at the tackle spot. Darian Kinnard, Kellen Dyche. Kellen Dyche is going to be my pick. You have to keep Russell Wilson protected. They've definitely struggled to put good offensive linemen in front of him in years past, but I think maybe that should change this season. So hopefully they're able to do that and maybe look corner later on, which I think is also another area of concern for me. And now we have the Commanders here at 43. And the Commanders at this point, once again, I think this is a linebacker destination. This defense is already very, very talented. Hopefully they'll come back healthy next year. Christian Harris, too good of a player still to be sitting here at this point. He's got to go. Big impact defender for them moving forward. Now looking at 44, we have the Minnesota Vikings, and the Minnesota Vikings could be considering a number of things. They already selected a corner at this point. They could be looking guard, but I like Wyatt Davis long-term there. Center spot, we'll see how they feel about Bradbury. But once again, we have to consider that edge spot. I think Drake Jackson kind of embodies what the Minnesota Vikings like along a defensive line. He's long. He's a really good athlete, developmental player like Danielle Hunter was. DJ Wanham, Danielle Hunter, and then Drake Jackson. That's a really nice stable of pass rushers that you have on roster. 45, we have the Cleveland Browns. The Cleveland Browns will be looking along that defensive line, and they're getting an absolute steal with this player that is still on the board. I've been considering it at some time. It's actually not Jordan Davis. Looking at the edge spot here, we have DeMarvin Leal, multifaceted defensive lineman. You can put him in the middle. You can have him at the edge spot. There's so many different things you can do. And to me, DeMarvin Leal is a huge upgrade. Currently what they have along that D line. At 46, we have the Baltimore Ravens. I think this is finally when Jalen Petrie goes off the board. They need some more corner depth. They need a guy that can play all over. That's what Petrie brings, a lot of versatility. And the Baltimore Ravens are going to need a little more help on that back end. I get that they were hurt this year, but I like him going at that spot. Pick 47, we have the Miami Dolphins. Miami Dolphins should be considering a wide receiver or a running back at this position. I'm going to have Kenneth Walker, the third go. I think they need a little more dynamism in that run game. Kenneth Walker was fantastic this year for Michigan State. He's going to be a terrific player, hopefully at the next level with the Dolphins. Pick 48, we have the Indianapolis Colts, and the Indianapolis Colts have to seek out a wide receiver. A couple of guys I like on the board, but I'm actually going to opt for Jalen Tolbert, one of the most productive receivers ever to come out of South Alabama, if not the most, just because he is super, super good at getting separation and one of the more underrated players in the entire country, considering he did play at South Alabama. At 49, we have the LA Chargers, and the LA Chargers are in a position where they should be looking corner, in my opinion. At the corner spot, a couple of interesting names, guys like Daxton Hill, Roger McCreary, Martin Emerson. Roger McCreary fits in probably the best with what they do defensively. I think man-to-man wise, he's one of the better corners in the entire nation. Super underrated. I think the Chargers in this division, that's pretty pass happy. They got to go with a guy like McCreary. Pick 50, we have the New Orleans Saints. This is finally when they take their flyer on a quarterback. They get Desmond Ridder, the dual threat quarterback. He's a true winner, tried and true guy. I think he fits in nicely with this New Orleans Saints offense, with a lot of question marks considering where they're at cap wise. 51, we have the Philadelphia Eagles, and the Philadelphia Eagles are probably going to be looking along that edge spot, in my opinion. A couple of guys that come to mind here. We got Arnold Ebiketie, Nick Benito, and Myjai Sanders and Cameron Thomas. I'm actually going to go with Myjai Sanders. I think when you look at what he can bring from a physical standpoint, it's going to totally embody what the Eagles stand for and what they've done historically with their defensive linemen. Myjai Sanders is the pick. Pick 50, we have the Pittsburgh Steelers, and the Pittsburgh Steelers here have an opportunity to take Kenny Pickett. He ends up sliding the second round. I like this for the Pittsburgh organization. They get to keep the local guy, the guy who went there, and looking at what he brings, he has a tremendous frame, pretty good arm, and he's a requisite athlete. So getting him here at 52 is absolutely huge. Now we have the New England Patriots. New England Patriots are going to be probably looking at that edge spot. I think they definitely will consider that in round one. Now they come back in round two. Arnold Ebiketie, true rotational guy, will eventually become that full-time starter. Going to have a lot of successful and productive years in his career with New England, in my opinion. I think he brings so much from a pass rushing bag that it's going to be fun to watch Bill Belichick mold him. 54, we have the Las Vegas Raiders. I think you have to look along that interior, that defensive line. And to me, I'm seeing Jordan Davis as an awesome option here. When you think Raiders, you think tough. That's what Jordan Davis is, a guy that is absolutely stout in the run game, more of a first and second down guy, not necessarily the third down guy, but he's going to be an elite run stuffer and have an impact like Vita Vea had on that Tampa Bay defense. Pick 55, we have the Arizona Cardinals. I think they have to look at that guard spot. That's a big area of concern of mine. Dylan Parham is going to be the pick out of Memphis. They got to protect Kyler Murray, and Dylan Parham is going to go a long ways in helping that out long term. Pick 56, we have the Dallas Cowboys. I think they will be actually considering more offensive line. You could look specifically at guys like Darian Kinnard. We'll also once again take a look at the linebacker spot. Let's see value wise. I would love to see Brandon Smith there. We're not exactly sure contract wise how they feel about everything. Let me actually go back once again to make sure, because we had selected Enigbari there earlier, so we will actually stick on the defensive side of the ball. Brandon Smith from Penn State is a really, really good selection. I love what James Franklin's done with this Penn State program, produces a lot of tremendous players. Now 57, we have the Buffalo Bills. Buffalo's got to look along that interior, that defensive line. Once again, that's a weakness for them. Travis Jones, a guy that's been a high riser recently, is going to be a tremendous interior defender for this Buffalo Bills defense. That's already pretty stout, so that'd be scary to see him walk onto that team. 58, we have the Atlanta Falcons. The Atlanta Falcons are in a really weird position because they don't know what's happening with Calvin Ridley. That opens up the door for a guy like George Pickens to stay in state and play for the Falcons. George Pickens very well could have been a top 10 pick in this year's class had he not torn his ACL last year, and really made it tough for him or the prior year, and made it really tough for him to come back. But, honestly, he's so tremendous as a player and prospect. It's hard not to go with him here. 59, we have the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. You have to look at wide receiver spot as well. With the uncertainty with Chris Godwin, we're going with a guy like Sky Moore. He's been rising up draft boards. People are super excited about him. I think when you consider what they have on roster at the wide receiver position, they had selected Jalen Darden last year. Tyler Johnson's on roster. Scotty Miller is another guy, but I think they'd be a little more comfortable if they took another wide receiver. Pick 60, we have the Green Bay Packers, and once again, this could be a receiver area because prior to this, we had actually selected Kenyon Green. I think this is a receiver destination for them. They have to get another guy. I'm going to go with David Bell, true number one at Purdue, super productive in his career there, and I think he'd slot in very, very nicely alongside of Devontae Adams. 61, we have the San Francisco 49ers. To me, it's pretty crucial that they look at that corner spot if they want to continue to, make these deep postseason runs. A guy like Martin Emerson's going to go a long ways in helping you out. He was absolutely terrific at Mississippi State this year. Could be a high impact defender for this back end of this 49ers defense. So love that pick for them. 62, we have the Kansas City Chiefs. Kansas City will definitely be considering a corner in this draft. And once again, nice thing is there's a pretty good mix of them. I got Daxton Hill going. He offers a ton of versatility at that corner spot, and Kansas City is going to ramp up and address this defense for sure. At 63, we have the Cincinnati Bengals. Cincinnati is in a weird position. Let's just say hypothetically they aren't able to get a deal done with Jesse Bates. That kind of opens up the door for a guy like Jaquan Brisker being selected. And another guy that could be taken is Trey McBride out of Colorado State. With Uzama and McBride, that could be actually a really nice dynamic tight end duo. I love that for them. He's a 1,000-yard receiver at Colorado State this past year. And once again, one of those guys flying under the radar. And then finally at 64, we have the Denver Broncos. And the Denver Broncos at this spot, a couple of different ways that they can go. Let's go back. Once again, we will check to see everything that we've done with them. We had selected David Ajabo earlier. And honestly, I think, so we went Ajabo and Chanel. I think offensive line is pretty critical at this juncture. I honestly, I think a guy like Darian Kinnard could slot in very, very nicely with this team. And so that is going to conclude our mock draft. A lot of fun picks that were made. Let me know in the comment section below who your favorite prospect is in this entire class. I want to thank you all for tuning in. Hit that subscribe button if you are new to the channel. Also, please leave a like if you did enjoy this video. Thanks for stopping by, and we'll catch you guys in the next video.